Hi everyone! Today I want to talk about one of my favorite quotes from Carl Jung, which says, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." I'm pretty sure that a lot of you might have come across this quote online in videos, books, memes, those little quote pictures as well. But really, I believe it is an amazing quote with a lot of depth and a lot of layers that we can unpack. So I want to share my perspective on that. But before that, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. So Carl Jung explored a lot the concept of shadows. Shadow in the sense of shadow cognitive functions, or shadow in the sense of what we are unaware of, what is kind of buried in our unconscious mind. And, people nowadays have different opinions in terms of what the shadow is, whether we can access it or not, whether we can ever make it conscious or not, whether we talk about it in terms of cognitive functions or in terms of other things. I know there are many different perspectives and I'm happy to make space for all of them. But today I want to talk about something that has kind of clicked in my mind a while ago, and it is a type of idea that helps me in terms of thinking about self-awareness and personal growth. So it was a few years ago that I took part in an amazing program about which I talked a little bit a couple of years ago on my channel as well. It was a program that was based on some of Carl Jung's ideas, namely different sides of the mind, and it kind of took some inspiration from the main mental processes: sensing, intuition, thinking, feeling, although they don't call it that. But then later it was developed by a guy called Bill Plotkin in a framework that is called Wild Mind. It is an amazing book. I really recommend it to you. And I know that in some countries there are also these personal development programs based on this book and this framework. I was part of it in Romania, and I know that in the United States there are plenty of such programs because Bill Plotkin comes from the United States. Anyway, while I was doing this program, we first explored our 4 sides of the mind and the resources, the positive resources that come along with that. And then in the second part of the program, we explored our shadows, the unconscious mind, the darker parts of each of these positive resources, and namely how each of them can turn into something negative or not necessarily unsupportive, but something that is not really good for us and people around us, but something that is more destructive. And basically one of these perspectives is related to what Carl Jung calls shadows. And it was in this program that I was originally introduced to the concept of golden shadows and dark shadows from Carl Jung's framework, which are of course also part of the unconscious. Carl Jung was saying that basically golden shadows are things that we admire in other people, and we don't really think that we have those qualities as well. But actually, we admire those things in other people because we have those things in ourselves as untapped potential, or as some parts of ourselves that we are unaware of, but we are also able to manifest and develop in ourselves and show to the world. On the other hand, dark shadows are the things that we dislike in other people, things that we really hate in others, that really trigger us negatively when it comes to other people. And again, Jung's perception, and this is also something that a lot of psychologists also claim nowadays, that we get triggered because these things exist in ourselves as well, so we are projecting it onto other people. So similarly to the golden shadows, the dark shadows are also things that we have in our unconscious, or sometimes, things that we even manifest in behavior, but we are not really aware of, or we don't want it to admit to ourselves that we have those traits, those behaviors, those qualities ourselves. And I think this is really important because as I was, learning about this and also playing with these concepts in the personal development program that I took part in, I had this image in my mind. I imagine the human mind as a very big dark forest. And in this big dark forest lie all types of human cognitions and beliefs and feelings and reactions and behaviors. Basically all cognitive functions, all Enneagram related motivations and fears, all types of skills, all types of beliefs, all types of mental processing styles, and so on and so forth. So everything that is in a way available as a whole to human consciousness. In a way similar to Carl Jung's collective subconscious idea. Now, in that unconscious, in that huge dark forest, there's one small part that each of us turns the light on. It's a little circle in the forest where the light is on, where we can see things clearly, and where we are comfortable being in because we have explored it, we know it, we are aware of it. And this is usually what we call conscious, this is usually what represents our ego. On the other hand, everything else is still there in the dark forest. Some of it is closer to our circle of light, and some of it is further away than our circle of light. Some of it will be easier to incorporate in our circle of light, and some of it will be really difficult, maybe almost impossible to incorporate in our light. And here is where I want to draw the connection between this image and Carl Jung's quote, "If you don't make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Why? You are conscious of the small part of the big dark forest. Then you go into the world and things happen to you. People do certain things. Society gives you certain messages about who you should be and how you should be and what you should be doing. Other people around you trigger you and press your buttons with whatever it is that they do or say. And as a result, you will start feeling like, you might have some reactions that you're not so happy about. You might have some reactions that come uncontrollably. These reactions can be emotional reactions, or they can be behavioral reactions, or a combination of both, which is very often the case. And this will push you to act in a certain way, making you often feel like, okay, this is really out of my control. And I think this is a perfect example of how the unconscious can direct your life. And to some extent, you might even believe that it is fate or destiny, when actually there's a lot of that untapped potential that is within you. In an abstract way, yes. Sometimes in a concrete way as well, but it is within you. And I think it's really, really powerful to acknowledge that we are not these static circles of light, but rather we can expand our light. And with more work that we do in our self-awareness process, sometimes on our own, sometimes with the help of a specialist, we can enlarge that circle. We can make it as something that can hold space for different parts of our minds, of our cognition, of our emotions, of our behaviors. The more light you have in your forest, the easier it will be for you to make conscious choices about what it is that you want in life, what it is that you value, how you want to show up into the world. And no, this will not make you perfect. It will not free you of mistakes and triggers and difficult situations, but it will make you feel more coherent. Because the more coherency you have, or congruence you have between your mind, your heart, and your gut, the better you will feel. You are less likely to have low confidence, you are less likely to feel like an imposter, you are less likely to experience intense anxiety, because you are more aligned, you are more coherent, and you are more honest with yourself. Because self-awareness is one of the best tools that we have available to be honest with ourselves. I hope this was enjoyable and maybe even insightful to you to a certain extent. Thank you very much for being with me and watching this video once again. I also want to remind you guys that in case you are interested in digging deeper into your self-awareness process, I offer self-awareness coaching sessions. More about that in the description below. And also I have a newsletter where I send articles about twice per month on topics related to psychology, personality typology, Enneagram and MBTI, and also communication skills, and sometimes even public speaking skills. So thank you very much. I hope this was enjoyable, and I'm going to see you next time with another video on typology.